Hey terrainiacs, Mel the Terrain Tutor back in the studio and back in the Hills playlist with another Hills technique for you. Now, if you're struggling to get your hands on high density polystyrene and you're looking to to make a table's worth of terrain, yeah, I've got a solution for you. Expanding foam. Want to see how? Come on. Now normally when we make hills, we make it out of this stuff, which is high density extruded polystyrene. The reason being, it's lightweight, it's really firm, it's carvable, we can work it with simple tools from blades to hot tools, you know. But the problem with this stuff is its availability depends on how cold of the country you live in. And if you're one of those lucky buggers who live on a warmer environment, then trying to get your hands on this stuff is quite a challenge. Yeah, but there is a solution. Yeah. Squirty foam, yeah, expandable foam out of a can. Yeah, now this is available in a lot more places because it's used for insulating pipes and stuff like this. Okay, but it is essentially the same stuff. It's slightly different, obviously, because, you know, it's liquid when it comes out and it's got to expand and cure. Okay, but it is essentially polystyrene. We can do similar things that we can do with that stuff than we can do with this. Okay, now, as you can see right here, I've got a couple of gloves. Yeah, that's because I've had this stuff stuck on my hands in the past and it is not nice. So, glove up guys. Yeah, also you'll notice I've got a bit of greaseproof paper down. Now, I do not know if this stuff sticks to greaseproof paper, but I can tell you with absolute certainty that it does stick to kitchen sides really well, no matter how glossy you think they are. Yeah, and well, let's just say Kez wasn't happy back in 2005 and we had a new kitchen, well, a new kitchen surface anyway. Yeah, I've no wish to do that to my workbench, so I'm throwing some greaseproof paper down. Now, either we get a winner and it doesn't stick to it, I'm not too sure about that, yeah, or it's pretty easy to cut away, you know what I mean? Either way, it's sortable. Yeah, and I still got my workbench. Now, with this stuff, you've got to shake it well, obviously. Yeah, follow the directions on the can. Now this can says use it upside down, yeah, which means more than likely the propellant is heavier than the actual polystyrene, yeah. So upside down, and what we're going to do is we're going to do lots of blobs. Now the important thing to realise about this expanding foam stuff, yeah, this is what I'm using, Everbuild, dirt cheap, got it off eBay, yeah, is it expands. It expands roughly 100 to 150% of the space it was squirted, which means you can't do a base and squirt this stuff on because it will expand over the edges. So what you've got to do is essentially do lots of little hills with the stuff, yeah, and then pick and choose what you want and do your bases afterwards, which is what we're going to do. Yeah, so we'll get our basic shapes up and then, you know, we'll curve it up afterwards. Now when it comes to doing your blobs, it is simply a matter of yeah, you know what that looks like, don't you? Yeah. So we'll do that one, we'll do a couple of that. Okay, we need to do some small ones. And there we go. Now you can already see them expanding as I do this, and you can see where I'm going to have to break them apart. That's not a problem. See, one way around. Use the last of it, eh? That's the last of it, that's the can. Not sure how that'll turn out. Right, next thing we need to do is just let these expand, guys. Well then, this stuff works a hell of a lot better than the last stuff I used. It certainly expands a lot more, but you can see where we're going with this, guys. Right, can you see the hill shapes, the rock shapes? Yeah, high density foam? Okay, right, straight off, volume-wise, out of that sort of, what I think the can was £3. Yeah, I've pretty much got volume-wise almost a 2x4 sheet here of HDF, you know, so dirt cheap. Now, quick experiment, it hasn't stuck, yeah, to the greaseproof paper, so we'll pull it off. There we go, there's a little donut, okay, where it's flown over. It's stuck a little, but I'll be able to sand it off. So, very quickly, while I've got this little one for you, yeah, so here we go, this is how it ends up. Obviously, hard, tough shell, but it's a little bit softer inside. If you look underneath where the shell couldn't form, yeah, you can see sort of the air voids. Now, it's polystyrene, okay? So, if we get our blades, yeah, works just as easy, yeah? Which means all your typical shaping techniques, You know, they all work with it. Okay, so my next job is I'm going to separate these off. Okay, I'm going to quickly run a blade along there and clean the desk up. Yeah, and I'll come back when that's done and we'll take these to the next stage. Yeah, let's crack on. Right guys, that's them all broken up and cleaned up, and it's time to work this up into sort of a rocky hill cluster sort of thing. Now the first thing to notice is it's got a bit of a beveled bottom. Yeah, so obviously it's not going to sit flat, so what we need to do is very quickly address that. There's a couple of ways of doing it. You can get a blade, and if they're small pieces, yeah, take a decent amount off the bottom, yeah, and just help level it off. Okay, obviously hot wire tools help with this. Yeah. But if you haven't got them, you can just go like that. Now, once you've got the bulk of it off, dead simple, bit of sandpaper. Yeah, and you simply just keep doing that until you've got it flat enough that it will sit flat on a base. Don't worry about too much about getting all these edges. We're going to blend those with rocks and filler. Yeah, so it's not an over concern. The main concern is getting this flat. So, I'll get this flat now. Took about a minute and it's all flat now. Yeah, not rocking either side, so it's perfect. Next job is we need to shape it up. Now basically, this is very much exactly the same as working with standard HDF foam, extruded polystyrene. Yeah, it's about shaping. So I'm going to use a very simple technique. What's the best way of showing you this? Right, let's start taking this surface off. Yeah, so take the surface off. And what I'm going to be doing is coming along, and I want to put sort of a bevel into it, but I want ridges. So cut in, yeah, and start putting my ridges in. Yeah, like that. Let me move this up so you can see it a bit clearer, eh, guys? In fact, just let me move the camera. That's better, isn't it? I prefer working like this. So basically what we're doing is we're taking off the sort of the skin of it to reveal the foam, and we're putting in some creases and rock crevices. We can do plateaus. Yeah. This stuff is really easy to cut. It's actually a lot easier than high density foam. Yeah, because it's almost high density foam. Yeah, so put a rock plateau in there and we'll bring this round here. Yeah. Continue that. Let's put in, let's skim that off. Yeah, and start putting in some creases there. Yeah, another one there. Yeah, bevel that down a bit. Cross crease. Cross crease, cross crevice. Yeah, change the angle on that slightly. Yeah, do you see where we're going? And there you have it, guys. All carved up. Yeah, now I've just used my simple sort of, you know, my crevice and irregular crevice sort of technique. Yeah, there's loads of videos on carving, rock faces in the Hills playlist, guys, so just check it out. Now the next job we need to do with this is we need to get it mounted on some EPVC, and then we need to get it covered in some filler. So my next job is I'm going to get some EPVC, draw around it now. I know that the sort of size of my hill, yeah, so I can sort of mount it. And then I can we can start with the next stage. So let me get a base cut up for it, let me get it mounted, and we'll come back once I've got that done. See you in a sec. Right, all based up now, and as you can see, I've beveled off the EPVC. That's expanded PVC foam board. You get it as free as from as scraps from sign printers. Now, it's all stuck down. I've used hot glue. Yeah, you can use PVA, you can use contact adhesive. Just avoid anything like super glue, because obviously it's polystyrene and that'll make it melt. Okay, next job is one last little touch up. Now it's sort of fixed down. Yeah, a little bit of sandpaper, and all I'm going to do is just give it a drag over. Yeah, and that's just to get rid of these sort of sharp edges. Yeah, and make it a little bit more natural. So I very quickly just drag it over all the sharp edges. I'm not going too hard. Yeah, because the foam is a little soft once it's been cut open. Yeah, and so and it doesn't take much effort, to be truthful. Right, let me get this done. They are all sanded, and you can see the difference that makes. Looks a lot better, doesn't it? Now the next job is, obviously we've got a couple of little gaps down here. It is quite open foam where we've cut across the top there, so we need to fill it. And what do we use? Filler. Yeah, wall compound, spackle, if you're in the US. And this is, you can mix this up, and you can mix a terrain glue by mixing paint and grit and PVA in it and give it a coat with that. Yeah, but just to show you how this works, yeah, I'm just going to use neat filler. Yeah, and all I'm going to do is get it on, yeah, and sort of rub it in. Now, I've got some water over there. I'll drop some water on it. That'll help spread it about a bit. But this is going to fill in all those closed cells. Yeah. So, bit of water. Yeah, and that'll help it spread out a bit. Yeah. Making a right little mess, aren't I? So if I bring it up, see how it's filling it all in? Now the other thing I will have to do is, yeah, with some proper thick stuff that hasn't been sort of thinned out with water, just come along and just fill in at the bottom where those gaps are. Yeah, so we don't have gaps under our hills. You know, it's not bellet. What is it? Bag end, that's it. There you go. almost. Right, I'm going to get messy and carry on filling this in, yeah? And we'll come back once it's dry and ready for gritting up and all that sort of stuff. Okay? See you shortly. Okay guys, now the filler is pretty much all firmed up. There's still a few little gaps, but they're not an issue whatsoever. Now, next bit is to start adding our texture. So for that, yeah, I've got some grit, fine grit, small stones, yeah, and some larger stones. Now, important bit is obviously you will have the occasional gap that you miss. I will have somewhere on this. They are, like there. Okay, and these are basically indicators of where you want to be putting your larger stones and hiding. It's very much like clump foliage. Yeah, there will be bits you need to hide. Yeah, and so you just use, you know, your grit, your gravel, you use your clump foliage to hide the bits. So don't worry if you miss bits when you're tidying it up. Yeah. Okay, now the next job is I've got a bit of PVA here. Yeah, and it's just watered down a bit. Okay, and all I'm going to do is brush it on to where I want it, and then I'm just going to be adding my rocks and my grit. Yeah, and all we'll do is we'll just texture up the top of here, a few bits around here, and then round the base, yeah? Right, I'll get cracked on with that. I'll bring it back when I'm done. Right guys, there we have it. It is all dried up and gritted and it is looking lovely. Yeah, and as you can see all the rocky texture and it's turned out beautiful. Now, there are a couple of little issues with using expanding foam. You do get occasionally these little holes, these bubble holes. You can fill them with fillers you're putting in. I sort of missed that one. Yeah, all I'm going to do when it comes to flocking it up and that sort of stuff, I'll put a bit of clump foliage over it. It won't be a problem, so don't be concerned about that. Yeah, but essentially, there you are guys. Yeah, all I need to do now is to get it painted up and get it flocked up. So I'm going to be using my standard sort of stylized Wargaming colours. I'm going to use some greys and some browns. Then we're just going to add a little bit of flock and a bit of clump foliage to it. So, should we get cracked on? So we start the piece with a really dark grey, and the aim is to get it completely base coated in a solid coat. Now, I've dropped a couple of drops of PVA in here just to help it seal the piece, and it takes 2 coats to get a solid grey colour on it. Once that's dry, it's time to add the earth elements, and so we're going in with a dark brown. We're covering where the earth is going to be on the flat bits, and at the same time we're brushing it heavily into all the creases. Yeah, and this is going to create our natural shade on the piece. The next step is to dry brush dark grey over the brown. This breaks it up and blends it in and makes it look a lot more natural. Next we start highlighting the rocks, and this is done with a mid-tone heavy dry brush of a grey. After that we hit it up with a much lighter grey, yeah, for the final highlight. Yeah, go really easy on this, and it's just to sort of break it up a little. Once that's done, it's time to highlight the earth, and we use a warm cream beige on this. Once again, a light dry brush on the flat areas, and a very little dry brushing over the main areas of the rock. This introduces the cream into it and makes the rocks look a little bit more natural. Now that the painting's done, it's time to add the flock. This is done with my typical spotting technique of adding light bits on highlighted areas, darker flock in the recesses, and then blending it in with a mid-tone. Once this flock is dry, it's just a simple matter of adding your clump foliage and tufts and any other garnish you want to add with a little bit of PVA. In this case, I've just gone for a little bit of clump foliage. So there we have it guys, all done. Obviously, it's just in my basic stylized, you know, I've knocked it out quick, so it's not my best piece, but how easy is that from, what you call it, a can of expanding foam? Dirt cheap, dirt easy, and look beautiful. Yeah, that's set up for the long shot. So that's it guys, that's how you can make an entire table's worth of scattered terrain, hills, rocks from one £3 can of expanding foam. And they do look rather nice. Now this is a simple technique, you know, I haven't gone to town on this, but you guys can, and you can make beautiful stuff, yeah, without the need of buying sheets of high density foam or hot wire cutters and all that palaver. Yeah, so give it a go, guys, especially if you're struggling to get your hands on some high density foam and you want some rocks and hills for your battlefield. So with that in mind, if you've got any questions, down below in the comments, guys. If you've got anything you think I should look at or something I'm missing, that in the comments as well, please. Like it, share it, and as always, if you do enjoy these videos and they do help you with your hobby, please consider jumping on Patreon and making the $1 pledge. It's only $1 a month, but it helps keep these videos coming. And if you're not into the monthly thing, there's my PayPal link below. You can send a one-off that way. Either way, you're helping to keep the lights on, the camera running, and me bringing great terrain tutorials to you. So, with that, guys, look after yourself, and I'll see you soon. Ta-da! Lots of dodgy winks in that one, wasn't there?